Hello, bonjour, namaste, ni hao, and ohio, everybody. What is going on? It is Galeriot here. Welcome back to the YouTube channel once again for another Danmachi Memoria Freese video. And today, as you guys can see by your screens right now, we are in the Familia Rush event, and we're going to be talking about the midway point right now. We're going to be going over some of the teams I've been using, or well, two teams I've been using pretty much for all three stages basically, and going over what skill flow I've been using, what sort of tactics I've been using going into the event, and just generally talking about the Familiar Rush at this point. Because of the video not being that significantly different from the video I did on Tuesday, which is a much more in-depth version of today's video is much more chill, going over my attempts actually today as well. I'm going to be using all 4 of my attempts today. You guys are going to see me use my team. I'm going to be mocking my team, seeing if I need to make any changes, of course, with the difficulty increase, right? This is not round 1. This is round 3 now that we're on and that my Familia is on. So we're going to require something else entirely when it comes to the team potentially because of it being harder hitting enemies and stuff. But yeah, just generally it's going to be my attempts at Familia Rush today, along with just generally talking about the team I've been using. Of course, if you guys go on to enjoy this video, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. Nearly 70% of you guys are not subscribed to the channel. It would be truly appreciated if you guys go on to hit that subscribe button. And of course, leave a comment down below as well, letting me know what your Familia is up to, how your Familia is doing in this event, and just letting me know how the event has been for you guys in terms of scores, what is your best stages, and just generally, how are you feeling about the event? Let me know in the comment section down below. Now, as you guys can see on the left hand side, my Familia is rank 40, which in all honesty, it's not really the worst position we've been in all honesty. I think we would have been probably worse off because right now we only have 17 members running right now, to be quite honest. A lot of our Familia members are either playing extremely casually, so they don't get on the game at all, or they're basically not playing the game anymore. So, I mean, if you want to apply to Gekai and you feel you can do a good job, basically reach King 3, King 2, get top 2500 in Record Buster, I mean, you're in, as long as you're playing the game actively. But no, on a real though, you know, it's a mode that requires a lot of people to play consecutively. I think if we had all 30 members scoring like even, you know, somewhere in the top 10, like Demon Bane score or Mu Officer score, I think we could have easily been in the top 30 minimum, I would say, very, very easily. But of course, I don't think a top 50 finish is bad either. You know, if you look at the Familia ranking rewards, even getting into the top 26 to 50 gets us 150 Iris, which isn't the worst in all honesty, and it gives us a couple of tickets, which is kind of handy. I mean, the gnome tickets is primarily what's beneficial here, along with the Iris more so than anything else. So I'm okay with this, you know, this reward in all honesty. Obviously, it would be amazing to hit the top 25 ranks, but, you know, I can't really force people to play the game. You know, I can't really be pinging people on Discord or, you know, DMing them personally consistently, being like, oh, you guys got to play the game. You know, you guys got to play the game just once a day, bro. Because in all honesty, at the end of the day, if they don't want to play the game regularly, or, you know, they want to play it very casually, I'm not going to stop them, to be quite honest. It's understandable, and I'm not there to force people to play a game they don't want to play. You know, that's pretty much it. But yeah, overall, I feel like I've done extremely well. As you guys can see, I'm 3rd place right now. I haven't done my runs yet today, but of course, I don't think Mackenzie or Elora have done their runs either. So in all honesty, I think I'm going to be doing just fine in all honesty in terms of the scores. Obviously, I feel like because I've been running so much on stage 1, which is probably my weakest stage, I think that's where I've been losing the score the most, and I'm not going to change that fact today because I am going back in on stage 1 again. But I think we've been doing well nonetheless. I think all 3 stages are pretty good for me. Usually there's one boogie stage where I cannot score whatsoever, but I feel this time around at least I can score relatively decently across all 3 stages, you know, stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3. So what I've been doing for stage 1 particularly is I've been taking in this team is what I've been taking in. Of course, I've had to take in the Haruhime at +3. I had to max Hero Ascender basically to help the team out, but she's basically there because of Aqua Killer, and she's probably my best physical unit, AoE physical unit that I have on the team right now, alongside Belle and Aisha. But this is the team I've been running because my water magic team is a dud. In all honesty, I think I only have one decent AoE water magic unit, and even she isn't that great. She's very, very old. She doesn't have additional attacks or anything of that sort. So I've had to resort to using a water physical team. Of course, for those of you who don't remember Tuesday's video where I went over the weaknesses, this stage is focused on being weak to water magic units. So you want to take the new units such as Hayden, Aphrodite, and Cassandra. But of course, you can, use a water physical team to a good effect. In all honesty, you can use it to great effect, I would say. So you can get away with this sort of a team. Of course, I'm using Haruhime as well. Actually, you know what I'm gonna do? 1 second, I need to move my camera down to the bottom right as always, because I'm gonna be showing you guys the skill flow and turn orders and stuff. So it's better if I put my mug in the bottom right. But basically, I'm using this team. Now, you guys might be wondering, why do I have Finn in the team? Well, Finn is primarily there because none of my other units actually inflict the enemy with any sort of damage reduction. So I had to use Finn in order to get the attack type all and single targets plus 30% damage increase on enemies. So this is the reason why I'm taking Finn. Finn is there primarily to just use his second skill and hightail it out of there pretty much. It's pretty much, that's the only reason why he's there. And one thing I need to actually do is actually switch his armor piece back to the revolving anklet, because of course for the other team I'm using a normal light team, which I'll come on to a second. We'll go over that in just a moment. But this is the team I'm taking for this stage. These are the skill flows as well, so you can pretty much see that the main focus is obviously dealing AoE damage. So everybody's just using their second skill once you buff them up basically. Even Haruhime at the end there is just using her AoE skill as well. But in terms of special arts, it's Haruhime, Belle, Aisha basically to do a triple super at turn 7 in order to deal as much damage as possible. So that's pretty much it. I would use Haruhime's special arts if she was +5, but she isn't. She isn't +5, unfortunately, and as a result, she's just there to primarily deal damage throughout the fight because of her Aqua Killer. I did try using Haruhime instead of Belle's special arts, but it turns out I end up doing a little less damage than this setup. So that's the only thing I noticed with this team. Now, when it comes to the light team, which is what I use for stages 2 and 3, it's very, very simple. It's very straightforward. I don't really need to mention too much about this one, but effectively what I do here is, effectively for stage 2, I just use their AoE attacks. I have to use Haruhime's third skill on the 4th turn or 5th turn, I think it is, in order to basically recover some MP, because Finn runs out of MP at turn 7 for me personally, if I don't do that. So I can't use Haruhime's AoE attacks throughout. I have to kind of switch to her third skill and use a single target attack in order to basically deal some damage to get some MP back basically. Well, it's not MP steal technically, so just use that skill to get MP back basically. But that's stage 2. For stage 3, it's the same again, except from turn 3 onwards, I just use everybody's single target skill basically in order to just get as much damage as possible. And then instead of Fiona doing her special arts, which is what I use for stage 2. On stage 2, I use Fiona's special arts. I just switched to Finn's special arts. Belle's special arts on both stage 2 and stage 3 along with Haruhime. But for stage 2, I special arts with Fiona. And then stage 3, I special arts with Finn. So that's pretty much the light team for stage 2 and stage 3. It works extremely well. Of course, if you have a dark physical team or a light magic team, they're much better options in all honesty for stages 2 and 3 respectively, but the light team can get away with it very easily. They didn't do a good enough job when it came to the resistances in order to deter people from using the light team. In all honesty, they didn't do a good job whatsoever. They tried, they definitely did try, because on stage 2 there is a inherent light res. I think it's a 40% light res, but there is a physical resistance down. And for the 3rd stage, they added like a 70% physical resistance, but the light res down is there because they want you to use the new Astvi from Valhalla Panic. So that also is a problem, because you're reducing the light res and you're increasing the physical res, but they kind of cancel each other out. So you can still use the light team to good effect in all honesty. But yeah, this is the team for stages 2 and 3. Right now I want to see how this team does, because I've got no equips on these guys actually. I've not given them any equips, because obviously when the early stages happen, you want to counter as much as possible, right? Because you want to deal as much damage as possible. You try and counter, but giving them armor pieces would basically make no sense, because they'll just take no damage then, and you can't counter when you take 0 damage. So I've given them no armor pieces. I'm curious to see if they're going to die, hence why I want to mock this stage before we get into it. But yeah, let's see how it goes. I'm very curious to see if this team survives. Like I said, this team is very straightforward. I actually forgot to show you guys the memorias I'm using. I'll show you guys the memorias I'm using in once we're done with this fight. But it's very straightforward memorias, in all honesty. It's basically memorias focused on increasing the damage of these characters. There's no difference in that, in all honesty. Now, one thing I want to actually talk about before, anything else, I mean, you guys can see what's happening on your screens. I'm going to switch off auto battle actually, so that you can actually see the names of the attacks that I'm doing while the turns are going. You can pause the video at any time to actually see the attacks. But the first turn was basically Torrent Slash, Submersion, and Crested Waves in this situation. Now, I want to actually talk about Familia Rush for a split second, and then I want to talk about a video I dropped recently. I say recently, it was literally yesterday that I dropped it. But I want to mention one thing about Familia Rush that I really hope that they add. They've not added it after like 37 seasons of Familia Rush, so I highly doubt they're going to add it at any point in the near future. But something that I would really like them for to add, I would really love it if they added this, is allowing us to mock all 3 stages, at any given time. Right now, you can only mock the stage that's live at the moment, so I can only mock stage 1. But I would like to mock stage 2 and stage 3 so that I could show it to you guys and show you guys what teams I'm running, basically, because it's much easier that way. And in all honesty, I will say this, by the way, as well. I know people will question why I'm showing my teams when I could probably keep it to myself or keep it to my familia. I don't really care, to be quite honest, as long as, people are scoring well, and as long as people are having fun with the event and need help with the event, I'm gonna just show you guys what I'm doing all the time. So that's the reason why I really wouldn't mind them adding a sort of like mock any stage at any given time, in all honesty, so that I can help people. People can help their own familiar members much more easily, so that everybody knows what stage they're best at. Because right now you could be like, okay, I'm good at stage 1, but I don't know if I'll be great at stage 2 or stage 3, and maybe I should wait for stage 2 and stage 3. But once they come and you realize, well, I'm not good at those stages, you've run out of your opportunity to challenge stage 1. So it's better to challenge all 3 stages in the first day if possible, to see and organize when and where your familiar will hit the enemy and when you should be hitting your enemy at the right given time, right? So that's something I wish they added in the game. Now, obviously, like I said, it's been 37 seasons of this goddamn event. I don't think they're gonna add it in the near future. In all honesty, if they did, it would have already been added to the game. But, it's still something I wish they add in the future. But yeah, like you guys can see, I have no armor pieces on these guys, remember, and they're still taking basically no damage. I mean, this is just how it works. Obviously, we also have a lot of debuffs on the enemies and a lot of buffs. Obviously, Aisha can reduce the opponent's strength and magic, but we kind of need it because she gives a buff through that as well. And then, of course, Haruhime gives us physical res and magic res as well. So it kind of helps us anyways. So while we're dealing some counter damage, it's not enough in comparison to probably what other players are able to do with like a water magic team that doesn't debuff the enemy strength and magic. And therefore, players can get a lot more hits on them. Now, obviously, if you haven't watched yesterday's video, by the way, this is mainly for those who are reading the light novel and are following the story in the light novel, the actual main series. I dropped a video yesterday talking about the volume 18 spoilers. Of course, they have added more spoilers, which, I mean, I'm not going to be covering in the near future, at least for the next couple of days. I want to wait until a proper, actually detailed translation comes out for the light novel or a Yen Press release before I actually make a full-on video and analysis. That'll probably be like an hour and a half video. Yesterday's video was like 45 minutes, man. I could not believe I spent 45 minutes talking on spoilers that were pretty much incomplete effectively, right? But yeah, that's something that I feel like I'm gonna definitely do in the future, is a 1.5 hour like full-on analysis and discussion on volume 18 and give you guys my thoughts, because genuinely I really like the way the novel ended. I'm just gonna leave it at that. But yeah, if you guys haven't watched that video already, please be sure to go check it out. I love the comments that we've gotten on that video so far, and the discussions I've had with people on that video. It was a lot of fun, and I want to do more light novel stuff in the future. Maybe not necessarily reviewing the light novels and such, but more so like maybe talking about certain characters and certain familiars that haven't been discussed enough or analyzed enough, and I just want to generally talk about them and maybe make like a sort of like discussion video on them, maybe. So something like that maybe in the future will happen, and will definitely happen. But yeah, let me know how you guys like the light novel videos and analysis videos. I want to see what you guys think, and maybe we can do more in the future. But yeah, so far this team looks like it's going to be fine. I'm just gonna run it and go into the battle. 57 million as a score is not bad at all. Of course, I feel like a Magic team can probably get much more. I would assume they would be able to get probably around 70 to 80 million, maybe more potentially, right? Like, because you've got Aqua Killer active, you've got a Water Magic team that's much more modern. I mean, the 3 units that I have are all 4th anniversary or prior units. So clearly, I would assume that if you were running a Water Magic team that's got everything from like New Year's onwards, basically you're probably running a team that's far superior in terms of damage and stuff. But I think this team is still doing a good job, and of course it's the 4th anniversary setup. Now this setup I don't think a lot of players will have, because it's the 4th anniversary units. I mean, the last time we got a 4th anniversary rerun was right before the 5th anniversary, right? So there is that factor as well. But I think a lot of players should be able to get some other water units around, even if it's a hybrid team, to be quite honest. If you're running both physical and magic units of the water nature, and it's weird of me saying it that way, but if they're of the water nature, you can probably still get a lot of business done. Like if you have, say, for example, the in all honesty, even though the Uka is more so like sort of like a defensive supporting unit that we got for the anime in like September or whenever it was, August, something like that, right? We got the anime Uka a couple of months ago. You can use him if you have him at +4, +5, in all honesty, over some of these guys, I would say, because he's a much more modern unit. But yeah, of course, I think this team is synergizing extremely well, so there's no reason for me to kind of change anything here, in all honesty. And I don't have that many other water units, you know, I realistically don't. I remember day one, I opened up the game and I was like, let me check what I can do for Familia Rush, and then I saw my water team and I was like, oh boy, it ain't hot, man. It ain't hot at all. So we're going to be running, this is the team I have had to run. I think this is definitely my weakest stage for sure, right? I think I'm able to score much higher in stages 2 and 3. But at the same time, I feel like a lot of my familiar members who have been playing more so since the 5th anniversary onwards, I feel they're able to do a much better job on stages 2 and 3 because of the light team, right? So I'm not going to, you know, deter them from actually doing this 3rd and 4th stages. Or 2nd and 3rd stages, sorry, of Familia Rush, because they're better off there, in all honesty. They're better off there than this stage where they're unable to score as much because water units have been too far and few in between, you know? So there is that factor as well, I would say. But yeah, overall, this is pretty decent, I would say. We're doing well here, and you know, a score of 58 million, 57 million is not bad at all, I think, you know. And obviously I think a lot of it also comes down to the amount of counters we get and stuff like that, because I think, you know, counters can make or break, I would say. Give or take, maybe you can get an extra million depending on how many counters you get. I mean, those turns I'm guarding isn't really handy, to be quite honest, because I don't want to guard. I want to take damage so that I can counter. But 57 million, not bad at all. Again, pretty solid. But yeah, I mean, this is just how Familia Rush works. You kind of have to have the right teams in order to do the best. Not a lot of players have that, but even if you score a certain amount, especially with the way the game is right now with the player base and stuff like that, you know, I've made a video talking about whether or not Danmachi Memoria Freese is worth playing right now. I'll still maintain it is extremely worth playing. It's not really that difficult, especially with the lack of players. It's actually much more enjoyable. You can make an argument and say, with the lack of players, because you are in a much better position to score higher and you're less worried about competition. But even then, you know, having more players and whatnot would make for more fun Familia Rushes and Familia events, because it's much more competitive. There's actually a competition going on and stuff like that. So there is obviously that factor. There is obviously pros and cons for having a smaller player base. It's a much more closer community, but at the same time, you know, you would also want to have a little bit of competition. You'd like to have a little bit of challenge and stuff like that. So there is that, of course. There is obviously that. But yeah, I mean, this is so far, like I said, this stage is not that bad at all, in all honesty. I think this is probably one of the easier Familiar Rushes that they've dropped in the last couple of months, I would say, in all honesty, because usually whenever there's a Familiar Rush, there's always something tricky, because, you know, they use certain elements that are really poor, or they increase resistances for certain elements that, you know, obviously are extremely powerful. more often than not in this year it's been light, of course, right? We've seen it in Record Buster, we've seen it in here, we've seen it everywhere pretty much. Whenever it comes to the light physical team, they've tried to nerf them in every given moment, but for the most part, you can kind of get away with it, honestly. Like I said, there's ways to get around it. The light team is too strong. You can make an argument and say, I still can't believe they made Hero Festa Bell light. They looked at it and were like, okay, you know what? We'll make Hero Festa light. We'll make it even more stronger. Even though we've been actively trying to deter people from using the light physical team, we will give people another reason to use the light physical team. It's insane. Honestly, it's so funny. It is genuinely so funny that they did that. I could not believe it. But yeah, that this is going to be a very very repetitive stage, to be honest, at this point. I mean, I'm just literally doing the stage again and again. But yeah, I'm very curious to see what they will announce on Tuesday as well. Of course, for those of you who don't know, Tuesday we're getting another live stream, and again, I'm going to say this for the 90th time. I think I've said this in so many videos at this point. I genuinely believe that this week we are going to be getting the news for the Australia record rerun. Because, I mean, they said it was going to be in January. Brother, it's almost the end of January. We're almost 2 weeks away from the end of January. It has to be. It literally has to be next week, the announcement. Also, Do Not Disturb and Galeriot, name a better pairing. Name a better pairing. But yeah, I genuinely expect Australia record to be announced this Tuesday at the buffs as well. I'm very curious to see what they're gonna do. Obviously, it's gonna be very interesting. Honestly, I would probably say even, I don't know, I feel like they're gonna do a decent job with the buffs. I mean, based on last time, right, with the second anniversary buffs, the Argonaut buffs, they didn't do an unbelievable job with it, to be quite honest. They did a good job with the reruns of Argonaut and Fina, the Thunder Argonaut and Fina that we got, but the original Argonaut units didn't get a drastic buff. It could be similar here, where the remakes of Zard and Althea will probably get some decent buffs, but the original 3rd anniversary units might not get a huge buff. But we'll have to wait and see. I'm very curious to see what they're gonna do. I think it's the perfect opportunity for them to do actually a really good job with the buffs, because, you know, you want players to come back to the game, or you're trying to bring players to the game, you know, based on the Danmachi anime doing Australia record stuff. The light novel actually also doing Australia record stuff technically as well, through the releases of Australia record and stuff, right? And potentially whatever they plan on doing with volume 18, you know, in regards to Ryu and Australia, we know that there's going to be something happening that potentially, because of course that's the idea with volume, with, you know, what's been happening in the anime and stuff. It has to happen. But yeah, I think this is the perfect time for them to do something really good with the Australia record units, because you're going to bring back players to the game. You're going to make them maybe not necessarily meta again, but bring them into the meta at least, you know, bring them alongside these other units, because I would love to see the Fire physical team coming back, you know, Elise, Kaguya, all of them coming back and becoming useful again would be amazing. But we'll have to wait and see, of course, in regards to that. I mean, it would honestly be generally a lot of fun and very cool in all honesty. But I mean, we can't really say what's gonna happen until we actually see it, to be honest. So there is that factor, of course. But yeah, let's do the special arts here and get our 3rd fight done for the day. But yeah, no, I think it's really cool. It'll be really cool, I should say, if they do Australia record and do it justice, in all honesty. Funnily enough, justice, the familiar that, you know, proclaims justice. But no, on a real, it would be really cool if they just focus on giving them justice and doing a good job with it. I'm very excited for it nonetheless. I also do expect the next Hero Festa to be part of the Australia record celebration. I do think it's going to be Zard and Althea. It would be a good way to do it, in all honesty. Zard and Althea are very popular characters in the fan base, and you know, every 2 months it kind of makes sense for them to do it, right? I genuinely believe it's going to be an every 2 months thing. So February will be our next one, then April probably, maybe as part of the collaboration, maybe, who knows. And then, of course, having it as part of the anniversary, of course. I do think that's going to happen. I think the anniversary, it'll probably be the part 3 banners, of course. I love the discrepancy between the scores, by the way. I was at 56.2 million for my second run, and then the third run is 57.8. It's crazy. And like I said, counters, crits, and penetrations make a huge difference. So you kind of have to focus on that. You really do have to focus on that. But yeah, I will show you guys the memorias after this run. But yeah, like I said, it's focused on damage and stuff. So STR boost for turns 1 to 7, and then the wind water attack damage for turns 1 to 6, and then 6 to 10 is earth and water and wind, I think, something like that. So that those are the memorias I'm using. But yeah, like I said, I do think they're gonna do hero festivals every 2 months. It would make the most sense in my personal opinion, and it would fit the release schedule quite well in my personal opinion. It's not too common, but it's not uncommon either, and it would be a regular appearance. I'm more curious to see exactly the rates of the Hero Festas. Now that's also going to be very, very interesting in my personal opinion. I think the rates of the Hero Festas is going to be very interesting in the pool. I think they might just make them the same as any other general pool unit, because of course, if we have to base it on the last banner, we're going to see double raids banners. And you know, the other, well, like, it's going to be 4% for adventures and 2% for assists, but 2% of the adventures is all the other units, and then 2% is the featured units. So we'll have to wait and see in regards to that, and hopefully it's, you know, it's good rates. Hopefully it's good rates. But this is Danmachi Memoria Freeze I'm talking about. I'm guaranteed to get Oni Loki or like Bashful Elf of Pia more so than anything else. So we'll have to just wait and see. We'll have to wait and see. It's also going to be curious to see if they'll drop the when they're going to drop the first Hero Fest assist, and how they're going to be designed as well. Honestly, that's going to be very interesting. Ooh, okay, we're taking damage. I would hope that the others take damage, not Haruhime. Haruhime doesn't need to take damage because Haruhime just heals on counters, unfortunately. That's the only issue with Haruhime, man. I love Haruhime, and I mean, the counter heals have clutched up many a times in Record Buster and such. But when it comes to game modes like Familia Rush and stuff, it would be kind of nice to have, you know, counters that attack and stuff more so than healing. Because you don't really need heals when it comes to Familia Rush, in all honesty. For the most part, I feel like you don't really need heals that much in Familia Rush. Alright, we're dealing damage though. We're good to go. Haruhime Belt special combo is done. But yeah, there you guys go. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully it was kind of like a nice discussion video as well, alongside talking about the Familiar Rush and stuff. So hopefully you enjoyed this type of video. Of course, I don't know if there will be an upload tomorrow. I will say that purely because I'm not sure exactly what to record. Of course, Tuesday will be the live stream, so I can easily just record something for the live stream. But I'm gonna see if there's something I can record tomorrow maybe. But right now I would probably say I don't know what to record tomorrow. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this video nonetheless, and you know, you can go check out some of the other videos that I have on the channel as well. It would be truly appreciated. Of course, you know, at the end of this video I would have like a playlist up top, or like that has all my older videos as well as the most recent video. And of course, if you enjoyed this video a lot, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and of course, you guys have a lovely rest of your day or evening wherever you may be, and I will see you guys in the next video. Take it easy, everybody. Bye bye.